Are you ready to break free from the doubts and limits holding you back? Welcome to Embrace Your Value, where therapy meets coaching to help you unlock your true worth and take control of your life.
Hi, I'm Kristen, a trauma therapist dedicated to helping you heal, break old patterns, and reclaim your power.
And I'm Jen, your support coach, here to show you how to set fierce boundaries, embrace self-compassion, and step boldly into the life you deserve.
So whether you're stuck in self-doubt or feeling lost, know this: your value isn't up for negotiation. It's time to own it.
Every week, we tackle real issues that challenge, inspire, and empower you to live with purpose and confidence.
So grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's get started.
Because you're not here to play small. It's time to embrace your value. I want to start with something that reframed a lot of things for me when I first encountered it. Every behavior you have, every pattern, every habit, everything you do that you can't quite explain is meeting a need. Not a random need, one of 6 core human needs that drive pretty much everything we do. The overexplaining, the overworking, the overdoing all the things, the staying too long in relationships, the compulsive scrolling, the people pleasing, none of that's random. None of it's broken. It's your system finding the fastest available route to something it genuinely requires. And when I first really sat with that, not just intellectually, but actually applied it to my own life, it changed how I saw myself. Because instead of asking, why do I keep doing this? I started asking, what need is this meeting? And that second question has a real answer. That's what Kristen and I want to talk about today. Welcome to Embrace Your Value. I'm Jen Anderson, your beliefs and boundaries specialist and your co-host.
And I'm Kristen Burrus, trauma therapist. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not walking you through a structured lesson. We're just going to have a real conversation about something that Jen brought to the table this week: the 6 basic human needs. And I'll be honest, I have some thoughts about this framework that may or may not align with Jen's.
This is exactly why I wanted to talk about this with you, because I think the framework is incredibly useful. And I also think it's one of those things that looks simple on the surface and gets complicated really fast.
Well, let's find out how complicated. So, the premise of the 6 basic human needs is that we're all driven by these 6 core needs. Not wants, needs. And everything we do is in service of meeting at least one of them, sometimes more than one at a time. These 6 are certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. And the thing that I find useful about this framework, and the thing I want us to really dig into today, is that there's no wrong or right need. Every single one is legitimate. What matters is how you're meeting them, because you can meet any of these needs in ways that serve you and in ways that quietly cost you everything. So let me just name them quickly so people have a handle on them before we get into it. Certainty is the need to feel safe, stable, and in control. Variety is the need for change, novelty, surprise, the opposite of stagnation. Significance is the need to feel important, valued, seen. Connection is the need to feel close and supported by others. Growth is the need to keep learning and evolving. And contribution is the need to give, help, and make a difference. Most people have one or two that are dominant, and your dominant need pretty much runs your life, whether you know it or not.
So here's where I want to start personally, because I think it's more interesting if we're honest about our own. Mine is variety. And I say that without apology at this point, because it took me a long time to stop treating it like a character flaw. And honestly, I've had a few times where I even had a marketing coach not too long ago kind of point out the variety piece for me and really kind of point it out as more of a flaw. She wasn't trying to be mean. She was just saying, you have too many ideas. You're all over the board. And that's really just who I am, because I don't do well with things always being the same. I get really restless. I need change, new ideas, new projects, new ways of looking at things. And for a long time, I really thought that was an instability in myself. I thought that was like the biggest weakness that I had, and that something was really wrong with me because I couldn't just settle down or ever be content. And what I've really come to understand is that variety isn't the problem. The problem was how I was meeting it. I was meeting it unconsciously, chasing novelty in ways that created chaos, starting things I didn't finish, making changes to things that didn't need changed. That was the issue, not the need itself. When I started meeting variety intentionally, building it into my work, my coaching, even the way I structure my life, things got a lot calmer.
I appreciate you going first, and I'll be transparent about mine, which I think is connection, which probably surprises no one given what I do for a living. But here's what's interesting to me about this framework. I think about it slightly differently than the way it's often presented. When I hear you're meeting a need, my clinical instinct is to ask, is this a conscious choice, or is this the nervous system just finding a way? Because from a trauma-informed perspective, a lot of need meeting happens below the level of conscious decision making. Someone who grew up in an unpredictable home doesn't consciously decide to prioritize certainty as an adult. Their nervous system was conditioned to seek it. And that's a meaningful distinction, because the path to change is different depending on whether we're talking about a preference or a wiring.
Such an important point. And I think where I'd push back slightly is I'm not sure the distinction between conscious and unconscious changes the first step. Whether your certainty seeking is a preference or a nervous system response, the awareness of it still matters. You still have to be able to name it before you can do anything with it.
I agree with that completely. Awareness is always the starting point. Where I'd add nuance is naming it is not always enough to shift it. For someone whose need meeting patterns are rooted in early trauma, insight alone doesn't rewire the pattern. The body has to have new experiences, not just new understanding.
I would agree 100%, which is exactly where coaching hands off to therapy.
Exactly. And both are necessary.
Can we talk about which needs show up most in the women we work with? Because I have a very clear picture from my coaching practice. The two I see the most are certainty and significance, almost all across the board. Certainty shows up as the woman who cannot tolerate vagueness, who overplans, who overprepares, overcontrols, not because she's a control freak, but because uncertainty genuinely feels dangerous to her nervous system. She's not trying to be difficult. She's trying to feel safe. And significant shows up as the woman who cannot stop proving herself, who overworks, overdelivers, overgives, because her sense of worth is tied to being needed, being recognized, being the one who comes through. And when she doesn't feel seen, she doesn't just feel disappointed. She feels like she's disappearing.
Yes, Jen, I agree. Those two are extremely common in my practice as well. And of course, I'll add connection, particularly for women who people please. The people pleasing isn't about being nice, it's actually about control and maintaining proximity to the people they need. If I keep you happy, you won't leave. If I keep you happy, we stay connected. And the painful irony is that meeting connection through people pleasing produces the opposite of real connection. You get proximity without intimacy. People are close, but they don't know you because you've been managing their experience of you rather than actually letting them see you.
That is one of the loneliest experiences I've ever watched someone have, to be surrounded by people and still feel completely unknown.
I would say it's one of the common presentations I see. Highly functional, highly connected on paper, profoundly lonely underneath.
Breaking. Okay. I want to go back to something you said earlier because I think there might still be a little issue there and I want to talk about it. You drew a distinction between conscious choice and nervous system wiring. And I think that distinction matters. But I also wonder if it sometimes becomes a reason not to act. If my pattern is wired in, if it's below the level of conscious choice, does that mean I'm off the hook for it?
No, Jen. And I do want to be clear about that, right? We can't just go around doing or not doing things because they're unconscious. Understanding that a pattern is neurologically rooted is not the same thing as having no agency over it. What it changes is the expectation of how quickly it shifts and what the pathway looks like. A coach might say, identify the need, choose a healthier way to meet it, practice the new behavior. And that works for a lot of people. But for someone whose pattern was formed in genuine threat, where certainty seeking or significance seeking was actually a survival response, the behavioral approach alone just isn't enough. The body has to feel safe enough to try something different. And that can be slower work.
I think that's where I'd say the framework is a starting point, not a solution. It gives you language, it gives you a map, but the map is not the territory.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And I think the risk with any framework, this one included, is that it can become another way to intellectualize rather than actually feel. Oh, I'm just meeting my significance need can become a bypass. A story you tell yourself that feels like insight, but doesn't actually change anything.
Agreed, which is why I always follow the framework with a question rather than a conclusion. Not, you need certainty, but when you're doing this, what are you afraid will happen if you don't? What are you trying to protect? those two questions get underneath the need to the actual wound. And that's where the real work starts.
Oh, yes, the wounds. So let's make this personal for whoever's listening right now, because I think the most useful thing someone can do with this framework is not to learn it, it's to apply it. So I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually sit with it rather than answer it too quickly. What's the behavior in your life right now that you can't quite explain or that you keep doing even though you know it's not serving you? It might be overworking, overexplaining, staying in something that you should have left, a relationship, a job, chasing approval, creating drama, keeping yourself endlessly busy. Don't judge it, just name it.
And then ask, what need is it meeting? Because it is meeting a need for you. The question is, which one? And it could be meeting multiple. There could be lots of things. Is it giving you certainty, variety? Is it making you feel significant? Keeping you connected to someone? Feeding your need to feel like you're growing or contributing? And once you can name the need, not the behavior, but the need underneath of it, the next question gets really interesting, because that's when you can start asking, is this the only way I know how to meet this need? Are there other ways that could cost me less that I could use? Are there other things I could do?
And that question, are there ways this could cost me less, is one I'd encourage people to sit with rather than answer immediately. Because for a lot of people, the first honest answer is, I don't know. I've been meeting this need this way for so long that I can't even imagine another way. And that's not a failure, that's information. It means the work isn't just behavioral, it's imaginative. You have to be able to picture a different way before you can live in it.
So here's what we want to leave you with this week. Not a list, not homework, just one question. What need am I trying to meet? And what is it costing me to meet it this way? Write it down if that helps. Talk about it with someone you trust, or just carry it around for a few days and see what comes up. Maybe write it on a sticky note and put it in front of your computer or wherever you spend a lot of your time, and just look at it occasionally. See what comes up for you. Because the goal isn't to stop having needs. You can't do that. They're fundamental. The goal is to start meeting them in ways that build your life rather than quietly dismantle it.
And I'd like to close with something that I think is worth naming directly. A lot of women who will listen to this episode have spent years, sometimes decades, treating their needs as inconvenient, as something to manage or suppress or apologize for, as proof that they're too much or too demanding or not as self sufficient as they should be. And I want to offer a different frame. Your needs are not character flaws. They're not evidence of weakness. They are the most human thing about you. Every person alive is doing exactly what you are doing, trying to feel safe, seen, connected, alive, and purposeful. The form looks different from person to person, but the underlying current is the same. What changes is not whether you have needs, it's whether you can meet them with an intention rather than a desperation. with awareness rather than automation, with choices that honor who you are rather than habits that just keep the pain at a distance. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with exactly what Jen said, naming what's underneath and asking the honest question and being willing to sit with the answer, even when it's uncomfortable. If this episode opened up something for you, we'd love to hear about it. Tell us which need you recognize in yourself today. We may talk about your responses in a future episode.
And don't forget to give us 5 stars, leave us a review on Apple, and subscribe today. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for being here with us today.
If today's episode hit home, don't just keep it to yourself. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Because everyone deserves to know their worth.
Next week, we're diving even deeper with more insights and tools to help you break free from limitations and live authentically.
Until then, keep raising your standards, owning your worth, and embracing your value.